Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM and NTXVarsitySports.com. Live from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. The Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Longquist.
Hello and welcome to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. I'm Kevin Longquist. We are here at Parker County Brewing Company, just off of Ranch House Road here in eastern Parker County. We will bring you every podcast from this location throughout the 2025-26 school year. They have been a great partner throughout the course of this year, and we have a Chamber of Commerce Day for this podcast, too. I mean, you couldn't have asked for it. We had the front that came through late Sunday afternoon, and it's turned into an absolutely marvelous Monday to do this, to visit with both the baseball and softball teams. We'll get to that here in a couple moments, but again, just an outstanding day. I wish the weather will be like this later in the week, but I don't think that's going to happen. But as always, we want to thank our two main sponsors between H5 Sports Barn and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. We continue to appreciate their support of this podcast as well as Aledo Athletics. We also want to remind you that NTXVarsitySports.com is the home for streaming both the Aledo playoff softball and baseball games. It continues this week as each moves on to the next round. Neither team refuses to lose, and that's a good thing. We do have the ability to split up the streaming so you can listen to both on the same night. It's a simple click on NTXVarsitySports.com. Just go to the home page, find the broadcast you want to follow, and you'll be able to follow the Bearcats or the Ladycats, or both. That's the strength of NTX. Ladycats softball moving on to the Class 5A Division I state quarterfinals, or you can call it the Region I Championship this coming Friday. Aledo meets Abilene in Graham. It's a one-game playoff, and it's a 4 o'clock first pitch. Aledo is 28-10. Ladycats, no problems with their nemesis, Lubbock Monterey, in the regional semifinals last week in the palatial setting of Holiday, winning these games by scores of 3-1 and 17-1. For Abilene, the Lady Eagles are 25-11-1. They are making their first ever appearance in this round. They upset Richland in their series this past weekend, lost the first game, came back to win the next two. Okay, Bearcat baseball is on to the Class 5A Division I Region I semifinals to meet Amarillo. The Bearcats are 32-3. They swept Stubborn Pascal in the area round last week, 3-0, and then 5-3. Aledo meets the Sandys, who are 32-4. They swept El Paso Bel Air last week. That series being played at Abilene Christian Thursday and Friday. It's a 7:30 first pitch on Thursday. Game 2 is 1 o'clock on Friday. A possible deciding third game would follow after that. And as for the NTX Varsity Sports coverage, Parker Burroughs has the baseball series on Thursday and Friday. And like it or not, yours truly will call the single softball game Friday. The pregame show for each will be 15 minutes prior to the first pitch. So for baseball on Thursday, 7:15. And remember, the doubleheader, baseball would prefer that it not be a doubleheader if they win on Thursday, but it would be about 12:45 for that first game on Friday afternoon, and then for softball, it'll be at 3:45. And again, you will have access to both games, so please spread the word to fans, out-of-state family, and anyone else to tune in. We've been really getting some big numbers here the last couple of weeks in terms of just overall listenership or people tuning into the YouTube channel to listen to each of these teams play in their postseasons. A 2-segment podcast for you. We'll start with softball and head coach Heather Myers, shortstop Delaney Rosser, and catcher Braley Meyer. Then baseball in our second segment with head coach Chad Berry, pitcher Taryn Byrne, and shortstop Will Casey. Okay, pleased to be joined now by our softballers here, and I'm going to ask you, first of all, so that the annoyance of playing Lubbock Monterey is over, pitching, allowing only 2 runs, the bats create the blowout in game 2. Just Coach Myers, just your overall takeaway from that series.
So I thought obviously our defense played lockdown. Our pitching was really good. Offensively, I thought we could have done a little better. I told them after the game 1 that the other team was more disciplined than we were. So we made one adjustment going into game 2, literally just one adjustment. We got off the plate a little bit, and it allowed us to keep the ball fair instead of pulling everything foul. And, you saw the reflection in the score, 17-1.
For sure. Braley, let's go to you, just in terms of just the overall series. Again, with this team in Monterey, they've had a really good season, so you knew they were going to try and bring their best to you, but just talk about what you guys got out of that series, obviously, with the sweep.
It definitely was a good series for us to face a little bit of adversity in the first game, just with a closer game, especially since coming off of the round against Pascal and stuff, we need to face more competition, especially getting into the later rounds. So that was good and a good way for us to bounce back in the second game, making the adjustment like Coach Myers said.
And Delaney, how about you?
Kind of just the same thing. I mean, we knew after the first game that we needed to get our bats going and get everything going, but after we played Pascal, it was definitely some good competition to get us going for the next few rounds.
Sure. Now, Coach Myers, when you had Kylie and Brooklyn here last week, they were pretty adamant wanting about winning this thing too. Like they were pretty much like we're calling their shot. And I know you were kind of like a little tense when they were doing that. But everybody can talk like that. But there was something in that matchup that you felt like gave you a decided advantage, or what did you think? Because you guys were very sure of yourselves in terms of going into that series.
I think it goes back to the preparation. All of the coaching staff, we do a lot of studying. We tell the girls to go and watch the film as often as they can. So I feel like there's a lot of preparation coming up into the game that gives them a lot of confidence. If they know what the pitcher's go-to pitch is, it's easier to make adjustments in the box, to know what they're sitting on first pitch. And if they have to adjust for second at bat, they can. But again, I think it ties directly back to we prepare them very well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just talk about the way Game 1 got started. Kylie Martin got you going with the 2-run blast in the second inning in Game 1. When you get something like, and this is going to be for all three of you, so when you get something that decisive that early, what does that do for a team, at least in your judgment, Coach?
I think, when we're not having to chase, I think that lets everybody breathe a little easier, and it allows us to settle into our game and just play.
Okay, Delaney, how about you? You guys get, instead, you heard Coach just say not chasing the game, but in terms of this, when you get that early advantage, what does that do for you mentally and just being able to play the game like you can?
It kind of like eases the nerve a little bit. Oh my goodness. And it gives us some confidence going through the next few innings that, hey, we can do this, we've got this, and we have a little bit of, hey, we already know we can do it. One person can do it, we can all do it. So it kind of gives us just that extra little push to continue throughout the game.
What about for you, Braley?
I definitely noticed a change with Tempe, and her pacing gets a lot slower. She calms down, she settles down a little bit, and she's able to command a little bit more, maybe not have to focus so much on throwing strikes and letting the defense work, but getting them to chase, stuff like that. And then hitting-wise, too, you feel like a little more calm. You don't have to, nobody has to be a hero. You can just settle in and have a good at-bat.
Okay, so you asked me not to say this, but I'm going to do it just once. I'm going to call you Boomstick Braley Meyer because you had a series, young lady, 3 hits, all of them were home runs, and there's something about being locked in because was there something about this matchup that fueled you, or is it like they say, when you get on a heater, the ball looks like a grapefruit?
Definitely from my first at-bat, Kaylee's home run, like you mentioned, and putting us up allowed us to be a little more calm at the plate. And I bat last, so I get to see a lot of her pitches and I get to hear a lot of feedback from my teammates before my first at-bat. So I think pretty much for my first at-bat, I knew what I was looking for, and I was seeing the ball really well. And then seeing her in the second game, too, I think we were all pretty locked in.
Okay, so this has been going on for the entire postseason, though, because you have 4 bombs. You had 6 for the regular season. So anything different in your swing, or is it just a matter of when the season gets a little bit, or when the seasons get a little bit hotter, you're getting hotter, or is it just a change in you overall, or what's been kind of the difference in you in these last, what are we saying, these first 3 rounds of the playoffs?
I think a lot of it goes back to last year I saw a mental hitting coach, and that's helped me immensely. And then I had a good fall season. I got on a really good select team with a coach that trusted in me, and then coming into high school that translates to, and just like feeling the belief of all my teammates and knowing that it's a good time to get rolling, and we're starting to see the ball really well. Okay,
and then Delaney, for you, obviously you've been through this before with this series with Monterey, of course, and again, it doesn't matter if the series is in Holiday or whatnot, but for you guys, the way you guys just handle your business in this region. What's it like, though, just getting ready for a week? Because you guys have played so deep the last 3, well, I guess we can say 3 years now, this year included. So just talk about that.
We prep, preseason. We're always at practice. We go till 6 basically every single day. So we're prepping every day for times like this. Other than that, we just prepare during practice. There's no other way to get ready other than to practice it. And during practice, we go hard. Coach Myers pitches to us. She looks at the pitchers that we're going to face, and she knows what to pitch to us so that we're prepared. So I think we all do a good job at it. Like, we hit live. We know what to expect because we practice it.
Okay, the history with Monterey, any comparison now that this series with them is in the rearview mirror, any comparison to the way they were this past weekend to what you saw in 2024?
I think in 2024 they were a little more scrappy. I feel like they had a little bit more control. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think that's just how I saw them. I mean, I'm seeing them from a different position now from my move from second base to shortstop, but I feel that they're just they were a little more scrappy then. And then since they do have a lot of younger girls, like their pitcher was a freshman, so knowing that and seeing that, we jumped right on it. The 17-1 win, I think, was us just knowing that she was a freshman and saying, hey, like she can get easily rattled. So that was our whole mindset was, hey, rattle the pitcher, and then we see what happens.
I was coming out of work doing something on that Friday game, and I didn't have a chance to follow you guys from the start. But then I opened up Game Changer, and I already saw 13-1. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I think we know where this is going. But okay, so I want to turn this over to both Coach and Braley, because I know that Tempe got the wins in both of them, had some command issues from what it looked like. There were 9 walks between the 2 games, and so obviously she'd like for that to be a little bit better here, and you can't do that the deeper you go. You can't give free bases, but was she battling anything, adjustments that she was trying to make, or what did you see there with her? Because obviously she got great support, but those are things that you've got to keep working on there.
I think you have to be there to see what the umpire's zone is. So the first day his zone was really tight. Really tight. I think that we were actually throwing strikes that he was seeing as balls, and so I have to take that into consideration. So yes, she did have 4 walks the first game, 5 walks the second game, but the zone was pretty tight. And when I go back and I watch film, I'm seeing she's hitting corners, so it's not as bad as it seems. But yeah, there are times whenever she needs to bring the ball back in, and she does a really good job at that, and we make adjustments. But we're constantly talking every inning, us 3, and just trying to figure out how we can adjust to the umpire's zone, because at the end of the day, whether it's a strike or not, if he's not calling it, we've got to make an adjustment.
Sure.
So.
Braley, for you, because when you're dealing with her pitch in and pitch out, and she might be getting frustrated, maybe not visibly, but maybe she says something to you in the dugout saying, I can't believe I'm getting squeezed here, or whatever. So what's a catcher's job to do in order to kind of get the pitcher reset so that she can come back and put that previous pitch behind her or that previous inning behind her and keep moving forward?
Well, when it comes to Tempe, she's really good at regulating herself in her own game. She's really big on her pacing herself, and I think my responsibility is just to kind of be a source of calm for her and to just listen. And whenever she needs to call time, she never really has much to say, just that like she knows I have her back, and then she goes back out and she can dial herself back in. But a lot of Tempe's game is just pacing, and she knows that, and she's really good at controlling it herself.
Okay, and Delaney, I mean, if you're watching her behind her, and so just as far as just kind of feeding off of that, does a shortstop come in every now? Did you go in every now and then just to say something to her, or maybe say something to her in the dugout? How'd you kind of treat it? Because you're kind of the captain of the infield on that spot. So
yeah, when I knew she was kind of struggling, I would go up to her or like go towards her and say, hey, like, you got it. Like, you've got this. Have that chip on your shoulder. Have faith. Like, you know you have it. And then when sometimes she would go up to Braley and talk to her for that little moment, then she would always come back and tell us, she goes, hey, I'm getting y'all a ground ball right here. Like, she has so much confidence in herself, and we feed off of it. We truly do. Her knowing that she's got this, I think it gives all of us, like, more confidence knowing that she's okay with us. Like, she knows we have her back. And so it takes some pressure off of our shoulders, and I know it takes some off of hers. And so just knowing that, I would always just tell her, hey, have faith and trust it. Like, she's got this. Okay,
defensively, clean weekend for you guys, no errors. What's clicking right now?
Just normal. Like, we've got this. Like, we've practiced it all year. I think we've always talked about it. 21 clean outs is what we have to play, knowing that we win if the other team scores the least amount of runs. You know how they do that? We have to have clean defense. 21 clean outs is what we practice. We play 21 outs all the time. And I think that's the only way. Like, you have to win games by not letting the other team score. I mean, our offense is strong enough, and I have confidence in our offense, but for defense, you have to have 21 clean outs.
Okay, Braley, since you're the only one that kind of can look out on the field there, what are you seeing just in the way that everyone's kind of handling their own position out there?
I think everyone's just carrying themselves really well right now, and especially because we've been making our way through playoffs pretty well, and we all have faith in each other, and we all have been doing well individually. Everyone's just confident, and everyone believes in the people around them.
Is it kind of, Coach, for you, kind of like to use the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
where it's like, let's not try to be the heroes out here. Let's just make sure that if it's hit to you directly, then do what you've been trained to do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly talk about clean defense. Like Delaney said, we are offensively strong. We really don't dial in on a lot of hitting. I mean, we'll make adjustments, but our main focus is defense, always. So that's you hear I'm talking about clean defense, because literally every inning we're talking about clean 21, go win the inning, but we win it by playing clean. So, I mean, we just rest on our laurels there.
Now, here's something that I found, and maybe you all already know this. Third game in the postseason where you all have run-ruled somebody, deciding third game versus Birdville, the solo game against Pascal, and then, of course, the second game against Monterey. There's a movie line that once said coffee is for closers, and so but when it's time for finishing off series, you guys have been rising to that occasion. And so is there something about when it's on the line or the opportunity to finish, maybe not so much the Birdville series because that was kind of like win or go home kind of thing, but just talk about what you see from your team when they have the ability or when they sense they can kind of finish something off.
Well, I think I talked about it last week a little bit about backs against the wall. So one game series is definitely back against the wall, just like we were with the third game in Birdville. And they always rise to the occasion. I mean, that's just a testament to them and their work ethic and their grit, because that's hard to be like, hey, you got to go out and win this game, because you'll either see them rise or you'll see them crumble, and they don't crumble, and they haven't done it for years. And so that's just a testament to them and their grit and their passion for this game.
Delaney, is there anything that you see visually, body language-wise, when you get into games like this, when you can either finish or it's, if you will, an elimination game, because that's what Pascal was technically, or even in this third Birdville game, where you guys just seem to just have that kind of chutzpah, if you will? I mean, what do you see body language from your teammates when you get to these types of moments?
I see that we're a lot more locked in. Not that we're not locked in when we go into the other games, but it's the ones that truly count. Like I know during the Birdville series, we were all so locked in. Like on the bus, we were still having fun. We were still having a great time, but we all knew, like, hey, it's win or go home. We have to have this game. Like no matter what, our minds were set on winning. No matter what. It wasn't an option. Like losing was not an option. So I think it makes us a little bit more locked in. And so like, going into this next one-game series, I think it's going to be the same thing. We are going to be so incredibly locked in that there's nothing else going through our brain other than that a win is in our future.
All right, so this is kind of a tough question here, Braley, but in your view, what kind of makes a mentally tough team?
I think a lot of it comes from how we practice. And so, like, a lot of what we do in practice is very fast-moving, a lot of reps. And so the fact that we feel prepared enough and can trust ourselves and our bodies and our instincts enough, I think that in itself makes you feel prepared in the moment to where we talk about trusting your preparation. Like you get in the box and you already know what to do. You just have to trust yourself. And same with pitching, on defense, catching, whatever. We prepared enough. Like at this point, it's just about executing and knowing that you have it in you to do it.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Abilene. The first for them, never been this far before in their history. So, Coach, just talk a little bit about a scouting report on them. You had 3 games to watch against Richland, maybe a couple more rounds before. So what's just the overall sense of that team?
Well, we're not scared of them, but we're also not going to take them for granted, just like we don't take anybody for granted. They're going to be scrappy. You're saying like this is the first time in school history to make it to the regional finals. So that's a big deal for them. So they've got a lot to fight for. We need to take that into consideration. But at the same time, not go outside of our game, not be afraid to go and compete, which we never have been, we never will be. But they're going to be scrappy, and we're going to have to execute, continue to play clean defense. If we play clean defense, we're going to win because we are defensively, offensively stronger. So, I mean, we're the better team. I will go ahead and say that. That's a fact, but that doesn't mean that they can't surprise us. So we've got to stay guess they're ready.
Same question for you ladies. I'll start with you on this, Delaney. What do you see just in terms of just if you've read up on them or watched any film, what do you think of them?
Well, I know we played them in the preseason, and we had Lily pitching, I believe, and they scored no runs, and we scored 8, but like Coach said today at practice, we only had 3 earned runs, so we're going to have to work for it. We're not going to say that they can't do it because any team can do anything on any given day.
Especially at this late in the season.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they've already set records. They've never been here before. They're going to try to go as far as they can now. They've already made it this far, so they're going to try to keep going. So we have to know that, and we have to have enough grit to just get through it and continue on how we've been playing.
Braley, how do you see it?
Well, we talked about at the end of practice today about how this is their first time here, and we've been here before. So we just need to play like it, and we need to not get outside of ourselves and our game and do what we know how to do and not let the moment get too big.
Okay. I know many were expecting Richland. Maybe you all were to some extent, but, that's the game. So what was the difference that you saw, Coach, in terms of them just storming back to win those 2 games on Friday?
Well, she won the flip to have a doubleheader. So that helped her because Richland only had that one pitcher. So her having to throw back-to-back really affected Richland, and it helped Abilene tremendously. So that was a good flip to win for her.
Kind of like a war of attrition kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to congratulate you because you've received the master's degree from the Tim Buchanan School of Losing Coin Flips.
Thank
This
you.
is a 1 game. Was their head coach, Jenna, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Aguirre or Aguirre? Aguirre, okay, kind of like the former Dallas Maverick. I'm dating myself here, Dallas Maverick, Mark Aguirre. But anyway, Jenna Aguirre, was she pretty adamant about insisting on trying to go 1 game there, or did it kind of just tell us how that process unfolded?
Well, when I FaceTimed her on whatever day that was, we're friends.
And
So
so-
I've known her for a long time.
Okay.
But she said, I want a 1 game. I don't want to play you multiple times. And I said, well, I guess we're going to flip. So we flipped. Obviously, I lost.
Shocking.
Shocking. I was like, you're about to win this, but that's okay. But I did win home, so at least we got the hammer. That helps.
Okay. All right. So you all have been through this before. You kind of touched on this a few moments ago, Delaney, about this 1 game scenario, and you talked about mentally strength and but the magnification of each pitch, each out a little bit more than, say, what you all just went through with Monterey, because you kind of have, it's not as intense in that first game. Of course, you want to win it, but you also know you also have house money to play with too a little bit. So just talk about when you get this late into the season, though, when it is something on the line, just talk about how you try to keep it as normal as possible. What's going to be the key for that?
Just knowing to stay calm and trusting in not only myself but my teammates. I know if I don't have a great day, I know my teammate will. And trusting in, I know every pitch matters. Every pitch matters. Every play matters. So every second of the game, I'm going to be as locked in as I can be and know that if I do have a mistake or have a bad at-bat, that my teammates have me.
Okay, and then Braley, what about for you?
I think as much as the stakes are amplified in a 1 game, like winning the first game in a series is just as important. And so we do have a little bit of experience with the series against Birdville and Monterey, both of which the first games were pretty close. And so I think we do know how to handle ourselves because winning the first game in a series, I think, is super important. And so it's just the same. We just have to apply the same thing.
Okay, and I do want to ask you before we wrap it up here, but just to, obviously these 2 young ladies are going to be playing in college. Delaney at Stephen F. Austin, and then Braley, you at Brandeis University up in the greater Boston area. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Take us through, I'm going to ask you both about just taking us through the process and how you settled on these schools. I'll start with you, Delaney, in terms of other schools you were considering before you decided that Nacogdoches is where you wanted to be.
Well, I always knew I wanted to stay close to home. That was never a doubt in my mind. I wanted to stay close. And also it helped that they texted me on September 1st, the first day that Division I's can contact you. And so knowing that, and my mom is an alumni of Stephen F. Austin, so that was definitely top of my list. Other than that, going there on my visit, it was just an amazing school. I knew it had my major and it had everything I wanted, and it was a beautiful campus. And so then finally meeting with the coaching staff, I knew I was at home. So I just had to go on. I went on 1 visit to 1 school, and I knew that was where I needed to be.
So there wasn't a distant second school that was under consideration, then it was kind of like SFA or bust.
Well, my dream school was always Tarleton because it was close to home. Same thing. My dad went there, so it was another kind of situation like that. it was always my dream school, but hey, some schools don't contact, and that's perfectly okay. So then I had one school wanted me, and I want to go where someone wants me. I don't want to go where someone doesn't want me. So I decided on Stephen F. Austin, and it was the best decision I could have made.
Okay, and Braley, obviously, we kind of know your story because you've been kind of like the unofficial intern for the football broadcast, but you went to the Northeast quite a bit, looking at a lot of schools, Pennsylvania and the New England states, and just kind of tell us about how your journey led you to Brandeis.
Well, I eventually went to a camp with tons of schools in the Northeast because I knew I wanted to be up there partially for academics, but also just for a change of scenery, and super nice up there. But I talked to the Brandeis coach, and she said she was interested, and I went on a couple of visits to places at schools that I met there too. But when I went there, we finished our tour with her, and I walked out of the athletic complex, and I was talking to my parents, and I think I started crying, and I was like, I think this is where I want to be. So I walked back and committed in person because I thought it would mean a lot. And I'm super excited about it. I knew immediately I wanted to be there.
And you ladies are going to be there, arrive, late August? Is that kind of the plan on that? And so,
yes, late August.
All right, but we got to worry about this coming Friday in Graham for in Young County. Okay, finally, a return to a third consecutive state semifinals on the line. You're going to face the Region 2 winner of Melissa, Prosper Walnut Grove. Probably Melissa. I'm assuming you've had your eye on them, Coach Melissa, for the last couple of weeks. Don't fudge on this. I know you have. And so did they look any different than what? I mean, assuming everything goes well on Friday, just they kind of look like they were last year, a big power hitting team, or what do you see from them?
Yeah, they're talented.
Yeah.
They're talented. We're going
I think I saw 31-2 or something like that. And so, well, it is what it is. And so you got to win 6 rounds of this stuff, and it's really hard to do that. And so, but anyway, we'll look forward to it again. Coach Braley, Delaney, thank you all for being with us here. Again, the Ladycats are going to be playing Friday afternoon out in Young County in the great town of Graham. It'll be my first time to ever be out in Graham after all these years being in this state, but I'm looking forward to it. And so,
my hometown.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
It's my home.
Oh, it is? Okay, that's right. So that'll be fun for you. And so, but we thank you all for being with us. I'll see you out there on Friday. And before we go, we just want to let you know that this Aledo Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats with expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training. H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Got a new driver or sending one to college? I see 2 off to my left. It's hard letting go, but Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth makes it easier. Mazda's advanced safety features like automatic emergency braking and blind spot monitoring help protect your new driver, whether they're heading across town or whether they're heading to Boston, Massachusetts or Nacogdoches, Texas. Visit Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Stick around. The second segment of the podcast is coming your way next here at the great Parker County Brewing Company. We'll be talking baseball here. Back after this timeout. Back here on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast at Parker County Brewing Company. I want to thank our relationship with them throughout the 2025-26 school year. Before we get to baseball, just a couple of Aledo notables for you. Aledo boys and girls track teams are sending 3 to the Class 5A state track meet this coming Friday in Austin. They compete at Mike A. Meyer Stadium on the University of Texas campus. They are Region 1 champion Addie Fields in the pole vault, double Region 1 champion Molly Garrison in the 1600 and the 3200. And then for the boys, Tyler Connolly is in the 1600 and 3200. A couple of basketball signings to let you know about for both the boys and girls programs. This is the late signing period for college basketball, and these signings took place last week. For the girls, forward Tiara Butler signed with Tyler Junior College, and for the boys, forward Dylan Pipkins signed with Brookhaven College in Dallas. And then finally, Aledo spring football game is this coming Wednesday at Tim Buchanan Stadium. Bearcats finishing up a month's worth of work. Scrimmage begins at 6:30, so if you have a chance to get out there and watch the Bearcats get ready for their first Class 6A season, please do everything you can to get out there. And we will have head coach Robbie Jones join us next week so we can talk about how things went, and as the Bearcats are putting the finishing touches on spring, and then fall camp for them will start that second Monday in August. Okay, pleased to be joined now by baseball head coach Chad Berry, right-hand pitcher Taryn Byrne, and shortstop Will Casey. Well, Coach, let's start with you on, obviously, that was a grind against Pascal like we expected, like I witnessed and called on NTX Varsity Sports. And like you and I had talked before and after the games, you expected that. You've had a couple of days to digest. What's the overall takeaway now that you've had a chance to kind of let it settle in?
I thought that was probably one of the best pitched series on both sides for both teams that I've ever been a part of. Owen Settle, their left-handed pitcher, and Hernandez, I think it's Matthew Hernandez.
Yeah.
I thought both of those guys really pitched lights out. They limited opportunities that we had to score, and it became a grind. We had to grind out at bats. I mean, we struck out 20 times in 2 games, and that's not like us. But tip my hat to those guys. They had a great plan of how to attack our hitters, and they executed their plans for the most part.
Okay, Will, you lived it, and so just in terms of just the grind of getting through a series like that, what do you think you guys learned about yourselves? Because as great as this regular season has been, and what this program did last year, doesn't mean anything. It's right here, right now. So what did you take away from those 2 games?
They're really good at putting the ball in play with 2 strikes, and it showed that when we need to, we can make those big plays and get those dudes out whenever they just poke it and put it in play, and we can shut them down.
Okay, so I'm going to work backwards and start with Friday's Game 2 clincher. First time to trail since, I think, the Mansfield-Lake Ridge loss back toward the end of the regular season. And Coach had told me after the game, Coach visited with me in the postgame show, and he said that he pretty much told you guys that they were going to come out in that second game at their place fired up to play. They wanted to get the advantage pretty quickly. And you probably were going to take a punch. And so the question is going to be, how are you all going to respond to that? And so I want to ask you, when the Panthers got those 2 in the first inning, especially on back-to-back walks to start, what was the mood in the dugout coming off that inning and trying to get back to it? And I'll start with you on this.
We knew we had to settle in and just come out and not try to do anything special, just try to get the bats rolling and try to keep everyone fired up and engaged in the game in the dugout.
And then, Taryn, for you, I mean, as you're watching this, because you never know when your number's going to get called, but when you're just watching your teammates go into something like that, what's kind of your instincts or what you're watching there?
Oh, I'm just seeing whatever they're playing. We had to flip a switch in that first inning because we were down, so we had to change what we were doing mentally and flip a switch in the game, and really took over after that first inning and started hitting. Pitching came together, everyone settled in, and we just had a good team win at the end there.
Yeah, and they switch did flip because Lucas Naraki, I'm just going to say it, he's kind of the dude. And so that home run in the 4th inning that he launched over right field, that and the pitching performance in Game 1 on Thursday night at your place. 2-hit shutout with 11 Ks. I want to ask you, Taryn, just when you're watching him, because every pitcher can look at, no matter if it's a right-hander or a left-hander, can look at somebody and say, what can I learn from watching a guy like that? So when you're watching him Thursday, what do you take from that, and how you can maybe apply it or maybe tweak something for what you do?
Yeah, watching him out there, he's super calm. He's collected. He knows what he's doing in the game because he has a plan before the game's played, before we know who we're playing. He knows what he's doing throughout the week. He has a plan. He has a workout. He has a routine. He's always doing the same thing, so you just know what you're going to get as soon as he gets out there. So learning from him, just having a routine like him, having to work out every day, having to really put in that work, that's what he does every day, and that's how he is. That's the way he is, and that's why he's the best.
Okay, and then, Will, I want to ask you just because 2 things. I want to ask you about that home run off in the 4th inning that cut it to 2-1, or excuse me, in the 2nd inning that cut it to 2-1. Normally, when a team scores multiple runs in one inning, they try to get the shutdown inning. So and I actually asked Coach about this too in the postgame. But what did that do for you guys when he answered that immediately to start off the top of the 2nd inning?
Man, it really just fired us up and got us going. It kind of, that student section right there behind us, our dugout, everyone was just fired up because, who doesn't get fired up about a home run?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and when you're watching him deal like he was doing on Thursday, he makes your job pretty easy because he struck out half the batters that he faced, and no one got to second base in that game. But what did you see from him that was maybe different than any of the other starts that he had made throughout the course of the year?
He was just pounding the zone consistently, just living in the strike zone.
Okay, Chad, I know we talked after the game of the postgame show about Dylan Duran's go-ahead 2-run double, but for those who didn't hear, let's review this again. And this is the sequence leading up to that double. Okay, so there's a runner at second. They pretty much intentionally walk Naraki to get to Duran. Take our listeners through the conversation that you think Clint Dunham had with Owen Settle before he faced Naraki, and then what you may have said to Dylan before he came up.
I would imagine the conversation went something to the effect of, hey, don't give this guy anything that he can put a big barrel on and change the game. Pitch around him. We'll take our chances with the next guy. You know, we've gotten him twice already. Don't let this guy be the guy that beats you. Make somebody else do it, which is exactly if I were facing Lucas and he was on another team, I would probably go out and tell our pitcher the same thing. Pitch around him, see if you can get him to, chase out of the zone, but don't let him be the guy that can change the game.
No, exactly. And for those who don't know what that situation was like in terms of, okay, so Naraki had homered in his first at-bat, then he had drawn a walk in his second plate appearance, and then Dylan had actually struck out in his first 2 appearances, so you kind of see how this lines up. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, you guys see this situation unfolding. As a pitcher here, okay, so you just heard what Coach said on this, Taryn, and then do you ever kind of play strategy in your mind when you're watching things unfold like this and say, well, would I want to pitch to him, or maybe he gets one pitch and if he doesn't, and if he misses it or something like that, how would you deal with something like that?
Yeah, in that situation, I'm thinking like I'm the pitcher, so I'm gonna go through his mind, like I'm gonna pitch to that batter, like I'm pitching to Lucas, and I'm gonna think that I'm pitching around him, pitching him low and away, making him try to roll over, pitching him super in, so you try to jam him, just pitching around him because he's a hitter. So you gotta go around him for sure.
We'll talk about what you saw on that in terms of just that situation before Dylan hit the 2-run double off the fence.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew they weren't going to throw him anything in the zone after hitting his second homer in the series, so I was just kind of waiting for him to get on base and then seeing what Dylan's got.
All right, what did you guys think of would you consider these 2 pitchers that you faced over there at Pascal between Matthew Hernandez and Owen Settle maybe the 2 best arms you've seen since maybe the tournament season, or how would you describe that?
Yes, they were, they can throw around, they can put pitches wherever they want them, and they're just 2 solid arms.
Okay. Now, what I did love watching about you guys was the defense, and Coach and I were talking about this postgame after the other day. You guys, it was so clutch. I mean, you guys obviously got the double play, the line drive double play in the first game, but the outfield defense, by the way, and you guys made all the routine plays. And on that slow roller up along third that you grabbed, I called that a hit, and their press box called it an error. I'm like, there's no way that's an error. And so they actually changed the scoring on that. I thought you made about as good a play on something like that when that's slow roller up the middle on that. But, you take a look at the outfield with Poindexter, Gladchuck, and Senham very strong, and, of course, what the infield did. Just talk about what this defense has been like pretty much throughout the course of the season, but now when it matters even more in the postseason.
Our outfield, kind of like a no-fly zone. We got Gladchuck out in center who can just fly. Poindexter in right, who also fly, good arm. I mean, Senham in left. All solid arms around there, so no one's really running on them. And then the infield, we just, especially in the postseason, made sure to lock in and lock it all down so that our pitchers can be comfortable throwing it in the zone and having the other team hit it where we can still make a play.
The relationship that you and Landon Barnes have developed there at second and short, what's that been like?
Me and Barnes, we've known each other since middle school, and it's just really fun playing up the middle with him because he's just a great guy. I just like being around there with him.
All right. And Taryn, obviously as a pitcher, fielding is a very important part of your game too. Just talk about the things that you've done to kind of work on to help you help that be a weapon for you besides whatever you throw off the mound and that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. I actually played first base a little bit this year, so I've gotten some fielding there. And then in practice, we have a lot of PFPs. We'll do PFPs once or twice a week. Work on that for all the pitchers. Just go through like every situation: short bunt to left, or a bunt to the left side, bunt to the right side, ball to second, getting over on a ground ball, tossing it to the first baseman. We work on everything, just PFPs at practice, so that really gets the pitchers locked in for fielding. So our defense has just been locked in all year.
Okay, and especially so, I want to go back to that 4th inning where it was all kind of changing because Pascal center fielder loses that ball in the 4th inning that leads to Landon's triple, and then he eventually scores on the wild pitch. And then Kyle, which I know you were kind of your heart. Well, I think everyone's heart was in their throat when he was on that sinking line drive, and he went diving for it and he came up with it to keep the game tied. That's probably the defensive play of the game there because if that gets by him, it's 3-2, and the batter runner is going to be running for a while because I don't know. I can't remember if Gladchuck had been able to get behind Kyle enough to where he could back that up. But anyway, just when you're seeing this unfold, especially for you, Chad, what are you seeing? Because you talked about it a little with me post game.
Well, I mean, I'm always, if you can go get it, I'll trust you to go get it, but don't don't try to do more than what you think you can. If you think you got it, go get it. If there's any doubt at all, play it to a single, and play it safe, and get the ball back in, and let our pitchers do their thing because our pitchers are so strong. So, I try to preach to them, don't do something that's going to cost your team. Now, at the same time, it's hard to say, don't go make that play. So it's kind of a catch-22 at times.
It's kind of the competitor in you wants to make
For
every
sure.
single play, but then you've got to kind of use some judgment on it. Okay, Terrence, special year for you, 5-0 record, ERA of 1.47. Just talk about overall your season, what that's been like.
It's been a long season. Tournament season was fun. We played some pretty solid teams. I had to pitch against Keller. That was a great game. Really had it dialed in there. And then very next week had to pitch against Midland. They were scrappy. They were more than I expected, and they were talking the whole time. So that game was fun too. But it's been a fun year, just trying to keep kids off the bases. Honestly, limit the walks. I mean, I've had more walks than I want, but not too many. So I'm trying to keep it down and just keep pitching and be ready for when my number's called.
Okay, so when you beat Keller, now this is a team that's only lost 2 games this year, if we've all checked their records.
Yeah.
One of them is to you guys, and you had that game. What did that game do for you, though, just as an overall confidence standpoint? This is a program that they're still playing baseball, too, by the way. They're actually playing Flower Mound, who you all also beat. So what do you get out of a game like that you hope you can kind of use moving forward in your season?
Yeah, it gave me, honestly, like a more of a beast mentality, kind of, just to have that confidence booster. Because we didn't know how good they were because we played them kind of early in the year, so their record wasn't amazing. I mean, they were still like 10-1 or whatever. But now that we see their record and they're up there with us, and seeing that, it makes me feel way better about myself now and have way more confidence to go pitch whenever I'm needed.
Okay, so what you haven't been is needed in these first 2 rounds of the playoffs, because it's been Sandifer and it's been Rocky, of course, and so obviously you're the Game 3 starter if they need to go to you on that, but it hasn't happened yet. But how do you kind of do yourself to kind of get yourself ready for something like this, and just in case, if you need to go to a 3rd game and something like that?
I'm just ready at all times. I mean, the first week they had me ready to go on Thursday just in case, because things were kind of wonky, our first playoff series. So I was ready Thursday, Friday for that. So I'm just ready whenever they need me. So if they need me game 2, I'm ready. They need me game 3, I'm there.
All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit about Amarillo here. The Sandies have had a great season, as we know. What's kind of the overall read on them?
I think they're very similar to what they were last year. They had a lot of returning starters. They still got Teagan Tate. They've got Tate Blackwell. So they've got a good mix of kids. They're athletic. They put a lot of pressure on you when they're on the bases. They like to run. They like to bunt. They like to run 1st and 3rd situations. They're going to try to confuse you as much as they can. And they can also swing it really well. I mean, they scored 28 runs on Saturday.
I saw that, yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it's still going to come down to pitching and defense. I think that the team that pitches the best and the team that plays the best defense and picks up timely hitting is still going to win the series. And I feel like if we go out and play our game, I think we'll be the team that wins it.
Okay, very nice to be at Abilene Christian. How does that park play? Because home plate appears to be in the northwest corner of the stadium, if I saw the dynamics correctly. The winds would be coming out of the south, so it's going to be warm. We're probably looking about high 80s when you guys first pitch on Thursday, and then could be a little bit warmer on Friday afternoon. But that sounds like that park could play a little bit bigger. So talk about that park.
I think when the wind kind of blows in from right or right center maybe. So I think the park is going to play big anyway. It's going to be hard to get a ball out of there, but at the same time, it's a baseball game. Everybody's playing in the same conditions. So to me, I look at that and go, we're used to playing with the wind blowing in. It blows in from Aledo all the time.
What is it ever? Yeah.
So nothing new.
All right.
Make an adjustment.
Will, for playing in a park like this at ACU, I mean, and if it is a windy condition, as Coach said, you guys have kind of dealt with that here in your home ballpark. But any adjustments that you ever make with your swing or anything like that, or you just kind of stick with what you've been doing all season long?
I mean, personally, I'm not a big home run guy. I always usually hit the ball the other field in the gap, or a single, or nothing special. So it doesn't really change much for me as a person.
Okay, and then Chad, for you, I did want to ask you this though, in terms of your pitching. So, is your approach with your pitching different from a compressed Thursday Friday series than versus what you just came out of it, since you were going to go Thursday Friday not so much on Saturday, but if you had to go Saturday. So how does that change for you in terms of the way you look at your arms and manage your arms?
I think we'll go into it still with a plan of, who's going to be first relief for game one, who's going to be first relief for game two. We'll try to keep it as much the same as possible, even though there's a possibility of playing back-to-back games. If we win game one, then we'll definitely we'll have a plan for game three if it gets there. And at the same time, I'm always like, if we have a chance to go win game two and we need to bring in Taryn to close it down and finish it off, if we know we've got it, I'm all for it.
Okay.
I want to end it in two.
All right, and though for you guys, obviously, and how do you approach a series that's kind of compact like this? This is kind of like old school, because back in the day when I didn't have as much silver in my hair, that a lot of these playoff series were basically Friday and then Saturday, 1 or 2 games. And so just kind of mentally, how do you approach something like this? I'll start with you on this, Taryn.
For me as a pitcher, it honestly makes it easier because I don't have to be ready 3 days in a row if we're going to play 3 games through 3 days. So if I have to be ready on Thursday, I'll be ready. And then on Friday, if we have 2 games, I only have to get ready one time since we're playing in 1 day. So it honestly makes it just a little bit easier.
And then what about for you, Will?
Just personally, I don't find much of a difference, but just to make sure you're not, getting run down, staying hydrated, all things like that, if you're playing back-to-back games on that Friday. That's really it for me.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your college situation. Taryn, you're signed with Cisco Junior College, and then Will out to Murray State in Kentucky. Let's just talk about those decisions. I'll start with you on this, Taryn, and just looking at Cisco, like I was asking the young ladies a few moments ago, schools that you're either considering, and why Cisco?
It's close to home, and it's a place that I know is a good school. I know the coach has been there for 25, 27 years, some crazy. So he has a lot of connections to get me past junior college. Mm-hmm. So I like that, how many connections he has. And honestly, the coaches just welcomed me when I went on my visit. It was just a great time. And they had all the kids there to welcome me, and I just met all those kids, and they felt like home. So yeah,
okay,
made my decision.
And just presuming here, they did sign you as a starter. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then for you, Will, obviously Murray State, they're in the Ohio Valley Conference. Really good. I love their nickname. They're the Racers, by the way. That's a very cool nickname. They're in I think the Ohio Valley. No, they're actually in the Missouri Valley, right, with Bradley and Southern Illinois and those folks. So just talk about that decision, because people would say, boy, that he really went to a different school. So just talk about your journey to go to Murray State.
One of their assistant coaches used to actually coach me back in like 8th grade summer ball. And Skirka, the head coach, is a really good dude. He's going to be there for a while. He turned down job offers from all these bigger schools to stay at Murray State, and I think it's a pretty special place. And the town alone is just like real small and kind of like home.
All right. Congratulations to you both. We're happy that you all get a chance to continue your careers. But obviously, the business at hand is this coming Thursday and Friday in Abilene. We wish you nothing but the best. And again, to remind you, the Bearcats will get the winner of El Paso Americas and Birdville in the Region 1 final next week. Real quickly, Coach, are you surprised that Birdville was able to turn around that series against Burleson Centennial? Because if you didn't hear about this, Centennial had the lead 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th of that second game. They'd already won game 1. And Birdville was able to get it into extra innings and then pull it out, I think, in 10 innings, 4-3, and then they actually won the third game. And so just overall thoughts, just real quickly on Birdville with that upset of Centennial.
Well, Birdville, we played them last year. They're no stranger to us. We know how they play, and they know how they're very well coached. And so, they put a lot of emphasis on their pitching and defense. And so, they had a lot of guys coming back from last year's team. And so I think they, that experience paid off, and they just kept playing baseball. That's their coach said it was just, in talking to him, he said it was just really exciting to see them. They just kept playing. They just kept playing. They didn't think about the score. They just kept playing. They said push it to the 8th inning. Find a way to push it to the 8th inning. Let's see what happens.
Is that still Vance Bonner that's coaching them too? Yeah. And so just to show everyone how old I am, I covered Vance when he was pitching at Haltom High back 100 years ago on that. And so, final question for you, Coach. Just what do you want to see from your team, or what do you need to see from your team this weekend against Amarillo?
I'd like to see a better approach with 2 strikes at the plate. Try to cut down on some of the strikeouts that we had last week. I felt like we struck out too many times. I think we can always sharpen our approach, especially with runners in scoring position, on moving runners and taking the ground ball up the middle with the infield back and scoring a run. It may be a ground out, but you're still scoring a run. I think we've got to do a better job of cashing in on those opportunities, because you never know how many you're going to get throughout a game.
All right. And again, the Bearcats Thursday and Friday out in Abilene. And then, of course, as I mentioned a few moments ago, they will get the winner of El Paso Americas and Birdville. That series is Thursday, Friday over at Odessa Permian. By the way, why are all these series I'm seeing on Thursday and Friday and not going into Saturday? Any reason why?
Probably because nobody wants to babysit a bunch of high school kids for 2 nights in a row.
And that's the ender that we're looking for on that. All right, gentlemen, thank you all very much. Good luck to you this coming Thursday and Friday. And we want to remind you that this Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and iPhysio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Got a new driver or sending one to college? It's hard letting go, but Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth makes it easier. Mazda's advanced safety features like automatic emergency braking and blind spot monitoring help protect your new driver, whether they're heading across town or if they're heading across the state. Visit Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Don't forget to tune into ntxvarsitysports.com for Aledo Ladycat playoff softball against Abilene and playoff baseball against Amarillo. Again, the Bearcats will be going Thursday at 7:30, pregame show at 7:15 with Parker Burroughs. Then game 2, which we hope it's a 2-game series for the right reasons, 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Pregame show is at 12:45, and that'll be Parker Burroughs out there, as I mentioned. Then I will be out in Graham with the softball team. 4 o'clock start against Abilene. 3:45 is the pregame show, all on ntxvarsitysports.com. And we want to thank the staff here at Parker County Brewing Company for taking care of us like they always do. Wonderful to be with them once again. So for my engineer, Bryce Andrus, and the Hank FM staff, thanks for being with us here at Parker County Brewing Company. We will continue to talk playoff baseball and softball playoffs next week, as well as wrapping up the spring football season. I'm Kevin Lonnquist. So long for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. With the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 from Parker County Brewing Company in Willow Park. It's the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1, Hank FM, and NTXVarsitySports.com.